Welcome back to Fast Market here on the TD Ameritrade Network. We're live from the Morningstar Investor Conference here, but let's bring in our next guest for our cash tag segment. That's going to be Andy Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio. Andy, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, so we're talking Roku, Andy. This stock's rebounded pretty significantly over the last maybe 4 months or so after falling pretty precipitously in 2022. What kind of data are you guys seeing on a LikeFolio going into this earnings report? Because it seems like expectations are growing here.
Yeah, expectations are growing, and so is expected volatility. I think we're looking at a plus or minus 14% expected move for the remainder of the week, which is enormous, and there's good reason for that. The stock has moved over 24% in 2 of its last 4 earnings reports, which is just enormous. So anybody thinking about trading Roku has to be prepared for a very, very large move on earnings given its history. In terms of LikeFolio data, we think Roku long-term is finally starting to position itself in the right spot with the right tailwinds. You know, this is a company that was chasing the content business, the original content business, pretty hard, dumped a lot of money into that. I don't think they got a ton out of it, especially considering the competition in that space with Disney, HBO, Netflix, on and on, a lot of competition. So they've transitioned, I think, out of that pretty well and really focusing on where they're the most effective, and that is on the software and now the hardware side of the business. And you know, this is a company that is now manufacturing its own smart TVs, which we think is a really good move considering where the consumer is headed. We're really seeing the consumer move away from the devices like the Amazon Fire or the Apple TV and towards smart TVs. And Roku, with its software advantage, is an enormous interface advantage. And once they can put that device on your wall, it will become a lot like Apple has with the iPhone in your pocket. It's just a platform for the company to continue to print money. So we like Roku's long-term prospects here. Short-term, we think the stock's probably priced about right, but in for some serious volatility on earnings as a possibility.
Yeah, Andy, you know, the expectations are pretty low coming into this earnings. And even though the stock has rallied since the holidays, rallied since the first of the year, it seems to be firming up here with the rest of the market. But what I like, some of the readings I've done about Roku, much like you're seeing kind of an evolution of some of these CEOs of these big companies. And one of the statements they put out was they are prioritizing products that they believe will have a higher return on investment. So basically saying more profitable quicker, right, than before. So they're not making the long-term bets anymore. They need, like this market is asking for, profitable activities sooner rather than later. Is any of your data seeing that? What do you see? Remember, I asked you once on Roku, I don't know about these companies. I'm not good at this, Andy. Just tell me who's going to be the winner. Is Roku still going to be the winner?
Yeah, you know, so far I think Roku definitely looks like the winner. I love the move into the smart TVs. I think they have the best interface, the best software. Consumers tend to agree with that. You know, the biggest threat, I think, for Roku is if Apple were to come out with a device that you hang on your wall. I think that could be very, very disruptive. But absent that, I think, you know, Roku actually could become an acquisition target. I think it's a good long-term play and definitely the leader in the space. And they do have tailwinds behind them. People want smart TVs. They want to stream. You know, they've got 70 million accounts that are active. That's an enormous number of people that you can monetize more and more every quarter. And I think Roku's on the path to try to do that.
And Andy, you know, as you know, it seems like subscriptions are pulling back a little bit from the hype that we saw during the pandemic. But when you look at Roku, they're coming out with their own branded smart TVs. You mentioned potentially some competitors that come in the space, but as people move away from typical cable, which is below 50% of households now for the first time since I think cable was out over the last 10 or 20 years, when you look at those kind of data points, you said that you guys have a longer-term view on this one, which is positive. Is that what playing out is? Hey, there's going to probably be some chop here to start with here as they work through this, but they'll continue to grow. And I think that's what the key point that a lot of investors miss is they're growing on a quarterly basis.
Yeah, they're growing on a quarterly basis. They're adding new users, by the millions on an annual basis. And, those users are using the product a whole lot. I think, their streamers are averaging watching 4 hours of programming a day. I mean, that's an enormous amount of time to have someone's eyeballs on your product. And there's a lot of ways to monetize that. The ad market looks a little soft right now. There's definitely some headwinds in the short term. But, when you're best of breed in a growing segment like Roku is in streaming, eventually you win. And from now until then is kind of a pricing mechanism. It's just Wall Street trying to get it right. And that's why you see these enormous swings on earnings, is there's a lot of unknowns. But I think the long-term direction for the company itself is very positive.
And do you guys have an earnings score for this one going into the report?
Yeah, neutral or slightly bullish. I don't think there's any reason to get out ahead of yourself too much with any leverage on this. I think this is more one where you want to watch and understand and listen and understand where this company is going. And if you get a move to the downside of 10, 15%, and you like the company long term, that could be a great opportunity.
All right, great stuff. Great data as always, Andy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.